Hey, friends! Just so you know, we enjoy the swear word and we rely on good old fashioned humor to get through some seriously dark subject matter. At no time do we intend any disrespect toward the victims or families of the victims in the cases we cover. Also, be sure to listen to the end for a few palate cleansing bloopers to reset your mindset. And with that, we thank you for listening and we hope you enjoy.
Hey friends, welcome to Crime Will Tell. I'm Jamie, along with my lovely friend and partner in crime, Carrie.
You're not supposed to tell people we do crime, man.
I know, it's a secret. It was.
No,
It was a secret. God damn it. How are you tonight?
I am good. It is stunningly beautiful out right now.
It sure is.
So I am loving life. You okay? You okay over there?
There's a lot of biscuit hair in this room. I think it landed on my nose.
For those of you listening, Biscuit is her cat.
Yes.
Context.
A furry biscuit is probably not the best thing to eat.
So I just wanted to clarify.
Thank you. I wasn't really thinking about that, but yes, Biscuit is my cat, and he sheds a lot. So this case is known by a bunch of different names. There's the Amana Hatchet murders, the Amana Axe murders, the Amana Inn murders, etc. If you couldn't tell by those incredibly pleasant names, this crime was fucking brutal. And it has baffled law enforcement, loved ones of the victims, and true crime fans for decades. So this one's going to leave you with a lot of what the fucks.
Mm-hmm.
So strap in and prepare to be baffled.
Great.
So what are you drinking tonight, Carrie?
Tonight I'm drinking Jameson and Sprite.
Ooh.
And I just put it in like one of my big old Bordeaux wine glasses with some ice, and it is delicious.
Yeah, you fancy.
What are you drinking?
I am still on my tequila kick these days. And so I'm drinking a ranch water, which is tequila, lime juice, and soda water. It's a cherry limeade sparkling water that I found in my fridge because we really need to go to the grocery store. And I just casseroled my way through this and threw a bunch of shit in a glass. And it's pretty good.
I mean, that is clever, creative thinking. I'm really impressed.
Thank you. That's very sweet.
No problem. You get one.
Well, cheers. Cheers to you, my friend.
Cheers, friend.
Clink, clink. Okay. So just diving headfirst into an empty pool. Here we go. So this case takes place in Williamsburg, Iowa, which is a small town about 90 miles east of Des Moines and just southwest of Cedar Rapids. Williamsburg is near the Amana colonies, thus all of the Amana murder names that I listed at the beginning of the episode.
Yeah.
So if you're not familiar, the Amana colonies is a national historic landmark and a pretty popular tourist attraction in Iowa. It's one of the oldest communal societies in the US. So basically there are 7 little villages that make up the colonies, and they're known for their shops with locally made food, handcrafted products, restaurants, and their strong German culture. It was founded by some German settlers, and it's kind of like taking a step back in time with a lot of historic buildings and traditions, but also getting to witness a close-knit community and network that most people never get to experience. It's kind of like, hey, big city folks, stand over there and watch us do some old timey shit. You know what I mean? Like, I just feel like there's a lot of like older stuff. I'm sure you can get some saltwater taffy in that fucking place. There's also all kinds of events and festivals that draw people to that area. Oktoberfest is obviously a huge one for them with the German culture. And so it's just this, unique little spot in the world. So I just kind of wanted to set the scene for where this case takes place and also explain why it's fucking called what it is. So there you go. So now that I've kind of set that scene, I need to introduce you to a couple of folks. First up is 32-year-old Roger Atkison. Roger lived in St. Joseph, or St. Joe, which sits about 30 miles north of Kansas City on the west side of Missouri. And St. Joe is where the case we covered on episode 24 took place, which was the Lonnie Wolford and Ricky Lee
Oh,
Blair episode, which
okay.
which was a fun one. If you haven't listened to that one, go back and check that one
Yeah,
out.
go check that one out.
So Roger lived with his wife Marcella, who was his high school sweetheart. After serving in the Navy during the Vietnam War, Roger and Marcella were married in 1973. Roger worked as a telephone installer and a repairman for General Telephone and Electrics Corporation in Savannah, Missouri, which is just north of St. Joseph, where they lived. So he just worked in like the next town up or whatever.
Got it.
And unfortunately, Rajpaj, as I like to call him, was having an affair with a 22-year-old
Come
named
on.
Rose Burkert. Don't love
Oh,
that,
man.
but it happens way too often. Rose was training to be a nurse at St. Joseph Hospital, and she lived in Savannah with her 2-year-old daughter. She was a single mom. The couple met in June of 1980 when Roger was doing some telephone repairs at her house,
Dang it.
and they ended up having a romantic relationship. So on Monday, September 8th, Roger left for a 2-week job assignment in Cahokia, Missouri, which is in the northeast part of the state. It's actually not far from where I grew up. It's about 210 miles or a 3.5 hour drive from where he lived on the western side of the state. 6 of Roger's coworkers were also working there with him. So it was just like a special project that they sent a crew to go work on.
Okay.
Roger told his wife Marcella that he would not be coming home on the weekend. So I don't know if he told her that he was like working through the weekend as well, or just that he didn't want to make the drive home and then have to turn around and come back. But he planned on being gone for those 2 whole weeks. And so his
I
wife
see.
was not expecting him to be home.
Okay.
While working on this remote job, Roger's employer put their workers up in a motel. On Wednesday, September 10th, Rose actually drove to Cahokia to stay with Roger in his motel room.
Of
So,
course. Yep. Saw
yeah,
that
it's like,
coming.
whoo, what perfect opportunity, right?
Take advantage of that.
Yeah. And so the couple had plans for a romantic getaway together that following weekend, which, way to go, Roger.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the
Yep.
reason why he's not available.
On Friday, September 12th, so 2 days later, the excited duo took off in Rose's car and they headed north to Williamsburg, Iowa. I'm not sure if this was their final destination or just a stop on their way to somewhere else. Don't really know, but they hadn't booked a place to stay in advance. So they're driving
Hmm.
through Iowa. They stopped at the Amana Holiday Inn in Williamsburg just before 8 o'clock that night. The hotel was completely booked, but the person at the front desk did a last minute check. And due to a cancellation that had just come through, the lucky lovebirds were able to get the last available room at the hotel.
Talk about stars aligning.
Yeah. The reason that the hotel was so full that night was because there was a mortician's convention going on at the
A
hotel.
what? A what?
Yeah. What a dud of like a group. It must have been like a sip on half a beer or an amaretto sour and just go to bed early kind of crew,
Is
but maybe not. Maybe they like went balls out, but I just don't see it being a real wild, crazy group.
maybe they really are because they're in a somber business.
Yeah.
So maybe they do need to let their
At
hair
least
down.
5 of them probably walked into a room and went, "Who died?" Just to liven things up because that was probably a pretty solid mortician's joke. But doesn't matter. But it was just kind of one of those like,
I
there's
kind of want to
mortician
put
conventions.
attend a mortician convention on my bucket list. I
Yeah,
kind
I
of want
think
to
you
do that.
should. So, on the early afternoon of Saturday, September 13th, 1980, a housekeeper at the hotel was, making her way around cleaning rooms, including room 260, where Rose and Roger were staying. She knocked on the door multiple times, but no one answered the door. So, she used a key to enter into the room. As she opened the door and started to walk in, she could see feet on the bed and thought that maybe the occupants were still sleeping. But then she noticed blood
Oh boy.
and a lot of it.
Ooh.
So as she walked a little bit further into the room, she realized that these people were not sleeping, that they were dead. And so then she backed out of the room and she ran to find her manager, who ended up calling the Iowa County Sheriff's Office to report the horrific discovery. The bodies of Rose and Roger were lying side by side and face down on the bed, partially under the covers. Roger was on the right side of the bed and he was only wearing his underwear. A lot of reports said shorts, but I'm assuming it was probably boxers. But Rose was fully clothed. She was lying on the left side of the bed. They had both been struck multiple times in the back of the head by a sharp object, likely a
Oof.
hatchet or a
Oh.
machete or a similar type of tool.
Oh my gosh.
Their skulls had been cracked from the blows, and the cuts were like 2 to 3 inches long. Some of Roger's fingers had been severed during the
Mm.
attack from obvious defensive wounds, probably
Mm.
just trying to protect his head from the blows. There was blood spatter all over the room, which is not surprising based on the brutality of the attack. And like we've said, head wounds fucking bleed. And when
Oh
you
my
have a
gosh, they
tool
bleed. Yep.
like going in and out, like it's just creates like so much spatter. So it appeared to investigators that the couple had likely been forced to lie face down and then just lay there waiting to be attacked.
Executed.
From,
Yeah.
yeah, which I can't imagine what they were feeling, just leading up to that, how scared they must have been.
Oh.
It was reported that money had been taken from the room, and according to the FBI, $200 had been stolen, but I'm not really sure how they knew money was missing or that that specific amount had been taken.
You hear that detail sometimes, and I always wonder, like, back then, it was cash was king.
Yeah,
How do you
exactly.
know how much somebody was carrying on them? And
Everything is paid for in cash, and if they're on this trip, they're going to need cash for gas and food and the hotel room and just doing shit all along the way. Roger's wallet and its contents were found on the floor, so someone had obviously gone through it. So my assumption is that Roger's wallet didn't have any cash in it, thus the addition of robbery to the list of crimes committed. A bloody towel was found on the bathroom floor, which made detectives believe that the killer had, gone in there to clean up after the murders. They also thought that the killer used the towel to wipe blood off the murder weapon, which is just always such a weird thing to picture to me.
they could tell that because of, like, the way that the blood
I
was
think the
on,
marks.
like a smearing of it.
Yeah, so it
Yeah,
wasn't just like somebody wipe their hands off. I think it was probably just like a solid line that like
got
a
it.
hatchet may have been wiped off or whatever. DNA from an unidentified male was later found on that towel. The bathroom
Oh,
sink
okay.
had remnants of blood in it, like somebody had tried to wash blood off their hands or maybe rinse off the weapon and it still just kind of lingered around the sink. And on the back of the bathroom door, someone had written the word this, THIS, with what they believed to be bar soap. Hotels always have those fun little bars of soap that dry the shit out of your hands.
Despite what that package says, that is not moisturizing.
There was a tube of toothpaste on the bathroom counter, and toothpaste was found squeezed into the bathtub. Like somebody, like a 3-year-old was in there, just like, like squirting fucking toothpaste all over the place. Very strange.
Huh.
Maybe the killer was trying to write a message in toothpaste and it wasn't working, so they used soap. I don't know. It's possible that the toothpaste and the word "this" were completely unrelated to the crime, but they were just really strange things that were discovered and noted. And I kinda just
Yeah.
pictured, like, a kid on, like, a really shitty vacation with his family, and he was in the bathroom and started to write, like, "This sucks," before, like, his sister knocked on the door because she needed to poop, and he was like, "Oh, all I got was this," you know what I mean? And then it just went unnoticed by the housekeeping staff, but then detectives are like, "The killer wrote this. What could this mean?" And it is, like, not related, but they documented it, and it's a huge, like, piece of this case, but it, like I said, may have nothing to fucking do with it. Who knows?
Oh my gosh.
The TV was still on when the housekeeper entered the room, and investigators noticed that 2 chairs had been moved, like, from a table that normally sat in the corner of the room. So it's just like a little round table that had
Mhm.
chairs around it, like a lot of hotel rooms do. They were placed near the right side of the bed, sort of facing each other, and they were
Okay.
positioned in a way that indicated that the attacker might have talked with Rose and Roger before killing them. It may have been a way for them to try and control their victims or maybe trying to get information out of them, like a interrogation type.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking.
There were shoe prints on the nightstand, like someone was sitting in one of the chairs and just had their feet kicked up on the nightstand, which
Oh,
is just
interesting.
weird to me. Like somebody was really relaxed and calm through all of
Yeah.
this. I don't like that. It
It's
just
creepy feeling.
there's a lot of stuff in this case and I'm like, huh, what? On the floor by the chairs were several receipts. I'm assuming that they were pulled from Roger's wallet when they went through it and just left them on the floor. And there were small pieces of soap that had been like broken up, but they were almost like ground into the carpet. Like they'd been stepped on and just kind of smushed down into the
Oh,
carpet.
sure.
And again, this was probably likely from the bar soap that is found in a hotel bathroom, but weird that it was in the room in these chairs and not like in the bathroom. Like, I don't know why they would have needed
Oh.
to take the soap. I don't know. It's just another little weird piece in this case. Again, this was 1980. So the care in preserving a crime scene was
Mm,
not like it
not
is
there.
today.
Yep.
I heard like an interview with a detective, and they said that investigators were just like walking around the room and smoking cigarettes while reviewing evidence. That there's like crime scene photos, and you can see like the ashtrays just getting fuller and fuller of cigarette butts because like as the time went on, I'm like, that is disgusting.
That is spot
And
on, though.
aces, guys. Just somebody's just laying on the bed by the bodies. Like, what do you think happened in here, Chuck?
Let's ruminate.
Yeah. Scoot this guy over, would you? I gotta think.
Oh my
Um,
god, that is so vile.
so components like in the room were likely just getting moved around and shifted, and there weren't photos taken of the untouched scene before it was tampered with. There in one crime scene photo, like a something would be sitting on one table and then it would be like moved somewhere
Oh my
else in
god.
another one. And so
I'm
it was
starting
just
to
like,
get
God damn it.
frustrated with this.
Yeah, yeah. Knowing that and like maybe the significance or locations of some of the strange things found don't hold a ton of weight, which makes this case even more confusing and intriguing.
Mhm.
If the murders had taken place now, the crime scene would have been handled completely differently. But it's just like
Yeah.
in one part you see the same like the fucking soap. What does this mean on the wall, like on the door? And why was there soap out there? And it's just like maybe somebody just dropped some fucking soap and stepped on it.
It was tracked in there by the bottom of somebody's shoe when they took a piss. This was on the back of that fucking door for like probably a year.
Like, how often are you standing cleaning in a bathroom like that you have the door shut and you can see And maybe it was low, like, I don't know where it was on the door, but maybe if it was low, you would just shut the door and not even pay attention
Yeah, I
to it.
mean,
I don't know.
that kind of grosses me out, but you're not wrong.
Yeah, it is a hotel. Depends on who is working there and how well they clean. My
I stay
OCD
in a
just
lot of hotels. Please stop. Just
I know.
no more.
Yeah, my parents should have just named me Purell because I fucking can't. One thing that kinda stood out to me that I never saw in anything is that I would like to know if the chairs that were sitting by the bed, if they had blood spatter on them. Because to me, that seems like a good indicator of when they were moved. Like, if they did have blood on them, maybe the killer or killers, we don't know, had Rose and Roger sit in those chairs before they were forced to lie down on the bed. But if there was like no blood on them, maybe they were moved after the murders and the killer or killers were sitting there, like just watching the bodies, taking it in, just taking their time getting out, which is creepy to think about, but it's like it was never said if there was blood on those chairs, because if they were sitting there, like, when they were killed, they would have had blood all over them. Maybe not a big piece, but I was just kind of like, that would be just interesting to
I
know,
mean, it
you
helps to
know?
build a timeline, and that is a
Yeah,
critical component
exactly.
to any homicide case.
Right. The couple suitcases were sitting on the floor beside the bed, and it was pretty obvious that they'd been gone through. Like somebody was looking for something specific or, just part of the robbery or looking for money or whatever it might have been. There were no signs of forced entry into the hotel room or that there was any sort of major struggle inside of the room. It was seemed like the killer had probably pretty good control of the situation from the beginning, that there was no fight or they were, going along with whatever they were
Mhm.
requesting them to do. The room was on the second floor of the hotel and was only accessible from the inside of the building. So this wasn't a motel that had access from the outside where somebody could just run out to the parking lot and be gone. Like they had to go in through the hotel to get to the room.
Oh, I see. Okay.
And so this was an indicator that Roger or Rose maybe possibly knew the killer or at least didn't feel threatened by them and let them into the room. This was also a time when people, I think, were a little more trusting. Maybe you didn't look out the peephole before you answered a door.
Yep.
But in a hotel, when you're like, who the fuck would we know here? I don't know why they wouldn't look out to see who is there. But anyway, I don't know why they would have let them in or who they thought it was, whatever. But that's just another little piece of like, damn, did they know this person? And the evidence that investigators found didn't leave any indicators if the murder had been committed by one person or if maybe there was more than one perpetrator. Like you could kind of see how it could have been either way.
They have like these weird fucking random clues or what may or may not be clues. They don't really know what's part of this homicide and what isn't. There's no obvious, again, this is 1980, so forensics back then isn't what it is today.
Yeah.
I don't even
There
know if
there weren't
forensics
cameras.
yeah,
Yeah.
but there weren't any footprint, like they've got nothing basically
Yeah.
forensically.
It's all very, very weird. Detectives learned that the couple had had a pretty uneventful evening that night before. They had food delivered to their room, just through room service. The hotel manager had allegedly called their room asking them to move their car because it was parked in a handicap spot. But this information was never confirmed by law enforcement. It was something that came up when they were trying to make sense of why Roger was in his underwear, but Rose was fully dressed. So there was some speculation that maybe Rose had gone out to the parking lot to move her car and had gotten, dressed, and that's why she was dressed and was just coming back to the room maybe when this happened. I don't know. It's another giant question mark, like a lot of
Jeez.
things in this case. So Rose and Roger had gotten 3 phone calls to their room that night. 2 of those calls came from the babysitter who was watching Rose's daughter while she was gone. And the third call came from an unknown person. They never figured out who that was, but nothing stood out as being suspicious. Hundreds of people were interviewed. Again, it was packed to the gills with
Yeah.
morticians and staff,
Convenient, I'm not gonna lie, but good gracious.
right?
Kind of also ironically creepy.
Yes, right? No one staying at the hotel or any of the hotel's employees saw or heard anything unusual the night of the murders, which is just so weird that nobody heard the attack. Nobody saw anything weird. I don't know. It's just like
Was there
told
a
them to.
mortician's ball and no one was in their rooms at the time? Like,
They
literally,
were,
like,
yeah, I know. Maybe there
that'd be
was
a
an
good
event
reason
that
nobody
night.
saw anything or heard
Yeah,
anything.
that's true. I never saw anything about that. And I did wonder about that. Like, was there an event that night that all of them were at? This was also Friday night when they were killed, so I kind of feel like that was the night that everybody was, like, getting to town or to the hotel, that maybe the convention was that weekend and it hadn't
Mm.
really, like, kicked off, but there was a hotel bar, like, you would just think that there were people at least mingling around
Mhm.
and activity in the hotel, but nobody
No one saw
saw or
nothing.
heard anything, which is just weird. Following autopsies, it was determined that Rose and Roger died due to acute blood loss and brain injuries.
Oh,
They
fuck.
both had, yeah, they both had lacerations to the scalp, skull, and brain. Roger
Oh,
had 7 wounds to his face, head, neck, arms, and hands, which I'd mentioned, and Rose had 12 wounds to her head, face, and throat.
so was she
So
the target?
that's what I was thinking too. Like maybe there was a little more emotion directed at her. That was like the first thing I thought too. It was like, whoo, she may have been
Yeah,
the target and he just needed to be
taken
subdued,
out.
you
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
That's some fury.
Roger's photo ID was found by investigators inside the room, so he was easily identified. Officers in Iowa then contacted the police in St. Joseph, Missouri, and detectives set out to notify Marcella
Oh,
of her
boy.
husband's death. Yeah, this poor
And the
woman.
circumstances around his death. It's horrific and like on
Yeah,
so many levels.
yeah. So she was notified that her husband had been viciously murdered in Iowa. And she was like, well, then that's not Roger because he's
Yeah.
in Cahokia, Missouri working. And detectives were like having to really try and convince her, like, no, this was Roger. And that's all just like horrifying on its own. But to also learn that he was in Iowa instead of working in Missouri,
Mm-hmm.
and to learn that his young mistress had been murdered next to him while on a lover's getaway.
Yep.
Like she had no idea that he was having an affair. I mean, can you imagine finding out your spouse was lying and cheating on you in the same conversation you learned that they were
No.
brutally murdered?
No,
Like that is
that's
so much heartbreak and just
oh my
so
gosh.
much horrifying data to process. Like, I can't even imagine. I believe that Roger's brother ended up going to Iowa to identify the body just to like confirm.
Yeah, Marcella
And
just couldn't
so I'm sure that that was probably kind of like the official point that she was like, fuck.
like I can't, like if I
Um,
were her, I'd be like, I cannot deal with this right now.
yeah.
You want me to no.
Yeah, yeah. And so then, of course, like investigators have to look into Marcella as a potential suspect, even though she's blindsided. She was very, very quickly ruled out as having any involvement in the murder. She was actually house sitting for some friends and babysitting their daughter. And I think it was for like a 2-week stint. Like these people were out of town. So she
Oh.
was with this 12-year-old girl, like in Missouri at the time. They were like, okay, you're good to go. But like with the brutality of the attack, like the murder seemed very personal and
Yeah.
very deliberate. Who the hell could have committed that? Because except for Marcella, like who would even have a motive to kill them?
And no
Like
one else in the
it's
hotel was hurt. It was just,
No,
they're
there were
just
no
them.
other incidents at the hotel.
So, and every room was full. So that was for sure a targeted attack.
Yeah.
How did they get in? They were let in.
Yeah, there's just like, did they see a car pull in the parking lot with out of state plates and they were like, that's my targets and I'm gonna follow them in, figure out, you know what I mean? Like, was it,
Oh, I didn't even think of that. They could have just been cased and not
mhm.
even known it. Oh, that has another
But then
level of
why would they open
creepiness.
the door and be like, hi, random stranger, what can I do you for?
Because as soon as the door's open, you can
True.
barge right in. Once
Yeah.
that door's open, you're fucked.
But then it's like you risk, having to have like your weapon exposed to threaten them, and you risk somebody walking out of their room or coming down the hall and seeing you. Like, there's just the way that they were able to get in, commit that crime, and get out with no one giving any details about a potential suspect is mind boggling to me. So let's talk about suspects and all of the different directions that this case took. So, first up was Rose's ex boyfriend, Danny Burton, who seems like a real dick. The couple had lived together, but Rose ended up having to kick him out due to his drug use.
Oh,
Allegedly. Allegedly, he was
unfortunate.
doing a lot of drugs, and she was like, fucking bye, man. She ended up filing a complaint with the sheriff's department saying that Danny had been stalking her. And she
Oh,
told them in this complaint, she said, if anything ever happens to me, he's who you need to talk to. So that's on
okay.
record with, and so it's like, whoa, yikes.
Intriguing. Yeah.
That's, yeah, that's never good. She was obviously really scared of him. He had obviously made some threats against her. She even went as far as to get a dog for added protection, but this is a rough detail, so this is a trigger warning for animal abuse.
Oh, no.
She came home one day to find her dog hanging from a tree,
Oh,
and
no.
Danny was cleared of having any involvement with the murders because he was apparently at work at the time. However, he likely killed her dog, so he's still a gigantic piece of shit. And
Oh, ugh. People who do that to dogs, people who are like cruelty to animals, they can fuck right off.
right, and especially when you do it in a way that they're suffering.
Yep. They can just fuck right off.
Yeah, exactly. You're lowest of the fucking low, you turd. So there was another guy. He was a hired hand who worked on a farm that was just kind of close to where Rose lived in Missouri. And a woman had reported to police that this dude broke into her house and was standing over her while she was sleeping in her bed.
Oh,
No fucking thank you. That is some
that sounds
nightmare
terrifying.
shit.
Yep.
And I couldn't get clarification on this because some reports that I saw said that it was Rose's home that he broke into. And then other reports said that it was just a woman.
Oh,
But I couldn't confirm it. But this creeper was in the Williamsburg, Amana, Iowa area, just miles from the hotel at the time of the murders. So he just kind of happened to be in that area. They couldn't tie him to the crime, but he was definitely on the detective's radar.
oof.
And with this particular guy, like, if it was Rose that he was stalking and broke into her home to watch her sleep, I would say that he should be at the top of the fucking suspect
Mm-hmm.
list. If it wasn't her, then I think it's a stretch to try and connect him to the crime. So I'm assuming that it probably wasn't Rose.
Mm,
Otherwise, there would have been like much more to dig into. But
right.
still, it was like, ooh, why were you up there, bro? So Marcella's father, Floyd Hatcher, was also suspected of the murders.
Oh.
There was some speculation that he learned about Roger's affair and decided to kill his son in law. But Floyd was also known to have cheated on his wife multiple times. So some people didn't think that he would have had that big of a reaction to the infidelity, but there's also that mentality of like, I can do it and it's not a big deal, but you hurt my daughter and it's a whole different ball
Right.
game
Right.
kind of thing. So shitty husband versus like protective father, like you're gonna act differently. Also, if Roger like was in a hotel room with his mistress, would he have let his father-in-law in the room? Like I don't see people just
But he would have opened the door to his father-in-law, and then his father-in-law could have busted into the room.
yeah. I don't know. I just feel like if you're and I it's hard for me to not think of it like in today's terms because there is no fucking way I'm opening a hotel door without looking through the peephole. If you're on a secret getaway and you're not wanting to get caught cheating, I feel like you're on extra high alert. And I know that they were like in another state, they were there so they could probably just freely move around where they don't know
Yeah.
anybody. But like I just feel like they maybe would have been a little bit more mindful of who they might be letting in and interacting with.
Okay. So what if Roger's father-in-law came to the door and Roger did the right thing by looking in the peephole and seeing that was him, and then opened the door slightly to say, "You need to go away." Like, I can see that happening just because
Yeah.
of a sign of respect, and then his father-in-law could have, like, barreled his way in.
Yeah, that's true.
Did the police look into him just as a matter of the inner circle of the deceased is going to be looked at regardless, or to be cleared as suspects or unable to be cleared as suspects? Or was it because Marcella's father had done something in the past that automatically came out that led police to look at him as a suspect?
I think from what I read that people who knew the family, like it had kind of been rumored that maybe he did it.
Oh,
Like I don't think
interesting.
that there was necessarily like evidence that led detectives to him, but I think there was probably just interviewing people that knew Roger and Rose that they were like probably somebody was like you should look into Marcella's dad cuz he's fucking crazy and if
Got it.
he knew this was going on, he would have probably fucking killed Roger.
Got it.
Or maybe he just was drinking one night and was like, should have killed the motherfucker myself. And then somebody took that and ran with it. Like, it's hard to say
It is. It is.
how it got there,
Oh, man.
but nothing came of it. This gets interesting because scooting down the branch on Marcella's family tree, her uncle Charles, his name is Charles Hatcher, who was her dad's brother,
Okay.
is a fairly famous serial killer.
What's this now?
Yeah. He was convicted of 5 murders in Missouri, California, and Illinois, but he confessed to a total of 16 murders. So that's
What?
fun. Fucking Uncle Chuck, right? I won't go into all of his crimes because he's his own goddamn episode, but he was just a lifelong criminal who would sexually assault boys and young men. He would commit a crime, go to prison, get released, commit another crime. So it was like pedophilia, rinse, repeat. Like this guy just did it over and over. He was an icky man and he was suspected of killing Rose and Roger because at the time of the murders, he had escaped from a mental health facility in Nebraska and was on the run from
Oh my
authorities.
goodness.
So this just happened to be going on at the same time. Although he was definitely a convicted killer, detectives didn't think that he had any involvement in the murders. I think he was like not in that area, like they could tie him to other places
It's
and
also not
whatever.
his MO.
Yeah,
What a weird link.
yeah, isn't that weird? Like,
Yeah.
just that there just happens to be a serial killer, like, tossed into this. He was eventually caught. He was charged with even more crimes. And he actually ended up hanging himself in
Oh.
a prison in Missouri when he was 55.
Oh.
So,
Okay. He just decided to opt out.
there were there must have just been like a lot of like rumors and bits and pieces of things that they got from different people that led them down little paths, which is typical of an investigation. But there was like some alleged shit that went down with Rose and a bartender at the hotel. The details are pretty wonky and nothing has ever been confirmed by law enforcement. But someone at the hotel, I don't know if it was employees or whatever, but there were reports that this bartender and Rose had gotten into some sort of argument the night of the murders.
Hmm.
Why? I don't know. Maybe he farted on her drink and she was upset about it. Hard to say. But he apparently like took his paycheck from the hotel, abandoned his truck, and he left the area. He never showed up for work again. And when
Whoa.
investigators finally tracked him down to interview him, he had joined the military and had already been stationed in Germany.
Oh my gosh.
So
So he was legit like,
yeah, like fled and was gone, and that was it. I was like, so did they ever talk to him? Like that was all of the information I could find about this guy, and I'm like, that is suspicious as fuck. What?
is it, do you think that it's just like, they're like, oh, he just left, he joined the military station in Germany. There's no way he could have done it.
I guess, or maybe they're like, we're just detectives in Iowa. How do we track? Like, I don't know if they just were like, never
Interpol,
mind.
bitch.
Yeah, exactly. Or the military, like go to right to the army or whatever branch he was in. Be
Yeah,
like,
just
hey, this
knock,
ding
knock,
dong
knock.
that you just
Excuse
yeah,
me. Yes.
excuse
Hello,
me.
ma'am. Yes. I'd like to lodge a complaint. So there's this guy. I'm not for 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure he's a killer.
There's so many details in this, and I'm like, that's it. Like, not. Where did that conversation lead? Did they talk to him? Was he cleared? Like, it was just like, he's in Germany.
That's
Okay,
super
fuck it.
frustrating.
Yeah. So another theory that floated around in this case is that one of Roger's coworkers, who was also working that remote job with him, might have killed the couple. So the workers at this telephone company would often use hatchets to clear away grass and weeds around telephone poles while they were working. So those would have matched, the murder weapon that was used. They would have also known that Rose joined Roger in Cahokia and that they were taking the trip to Iowa together. Like I couldn't really get a sense if Roger was pretty open with his coworkers that Rose was staying with him or if maybe she was like sneaking around a little bit, like
But
if
you
they
bring
were
up a
like
good point that I
privy to the
didn't.
affair.
Yeah, I didn't think about someone. If they were if they were a targeted attack, someone would have had to known they were going to be there.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know who all they were telling. Like, I don't know if Rose told her babysitter. I don't know, like, if it was just this, I am going away for the weekend kind of a thing. And
I don't know.
she could have easily gotten into and out of his room, probably without people seeing. But he may have been like, hey guys, my girlfriend's coming to stay with me. If you see a chick coming in and out of my room, like, keep your fucking
Maybe.
mouth shut about it. But I
I
don't.
mean, it was 1980. I mean, that shit was like fragrant. Nope, flagrant.
Yeah. Yeah, and so like you said, like not many people knew that they were even together, like that they were a couple or where they were going.
Right.
So it's like
And
interesting. Like,
the location of their injuries is telling, in my opinion, as well, because that's personal.
mhm.
If it was just robbery, burglary, I can't remember the difference between robbery, burglary, whichever one is accurate. Like, if it was just that, give me all your money, they're not going to get targeted in the fucking head. And it doesn't make any sense if it was a
Yeah.
random thing. Unless, of course, mental health was involved or drugs or whatever, because if that's the case, then they're driven to do desperate things. And maybe, I don't know. I don't know.
Rose was hit 12 fucking times with a hatchet. Like that is
There were hatchets everywhere. If there were six people on in this remote work site, hatchets be
yeah,
gone wild. So
right. Yeah.
it could have been a weapon of convenience, or it could have been an inside job.
Yeah. I don't know. It's like it's interesting because they would have potentially known the location, but like it also didn't to me make a lot of sense why, even if those people knew, why they would want to kill them for having an affair. Did they elect themselves like the morality sheriff and they were just cleaning up the streets, or like whatever? I don't know, but it's apparently all of those coworkers were interviewed and cleared because nothing more came of it. And I don't know if they all went home that weekend, like if they went back to their families and then were coming back for the next work week, like if they'd gone home for the weekend and maybe they were all gone. I don't know if any of them even knew that there was an affair going on. Like it's none of that was clear.
Oh, man.
Detectives also learned about some other murders in Illinois and Iowa that really piqued their interest. So, on March 3rd of 1983, there was another double murder. This one took place in Newton, Iowa. 17-year-old Melissa Gregory and her boyfriend, 20-year-old Stephen Fisher, were bludgeoned to death at the Copper Dollar Ranch, which was a horse ranch where Stephen worked. He was married at the time, but he and his wife Terry were separated.
Okay.
So it wasn't really an affair, I don't know, but
I feel like if you've ended the relationship, like that everybody understands that's the expectation, then I don't see that as cheating. Some people
right,
think
as long as
that
there's the understanding that
right.
like we're
You've
free to
ended
see other
the
people.
yes, you've ended the relationship. Some people prefer that divorce being final.
Yeah, as long as everybody's on board with
The reason
moving
why I
on.
say that is because if they were truly separated and like it wasn't a secret and it was a well-known established fact, then they wouldn't have been hiding anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And so that case went cold for 31 years
Ooh.
until 2014, when Terry was arrested and charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder for killing her husband and his girlfriend. But following a trial in 2015, Terry was acquitted of all of the charges,
Holy
and
shish
so
kebabs.
that case remains unsolved.
Wow. I want to know what the evidence was that made them 31 years later arrest her and put her on trial. They had a grand jury and everything.
Yeah, I didn't dig too far into it because I was like, oh my God, because then I'm just gonna go
Yeah, no, you can't do
get
that.
sidetracked on that. But I was
We'd
like,
never ever publish an
damn.
episode if we just,
Right?
yeah, we can't give into our
Exactly.
rabbit hole urges all the time.
Yeah. And so there was like, obviously some similarities. Like, was there some sort of like vigilante killer that was taking out cheating spouses and their lovers? I doubt it. But it just was kind of like, ooh, another couple was murdered in Iowa, and they tried to kind of connect it. They couldn't.
I'm glad to see that they tried and they're looking at all angles.
Yeah. And there were 2 other murders that caught the eye of investigators and web sleuths trying to solve this case. The first was a man named Jack McDonald, a 23-year-old who was also killed in a hotel. This was in Meridian, Mississippi in 1970. So this was 10 years before Rose and Roger were killed. But Jack had also been bludgeoned to death and was found bent over the side of the bed, lying face down. His wallet was missing, and toothpaste had been squeezed out into the toilet in the hotel room.
Whoa.
There was also the murder. This is when I was like, oh, what? There was also the murder case of William Kyle. And this is the one that has the most similarities to the case that we're covering. So, William Kyle was a 28-year-old traveling salesman, and he was killed with a hatchet in a hotel room in Galesburg, Illinois, just 10 weeks before Rose and Roger were killed. His body was lying face down on the bed. The contents of his wallet had been dumped on the floor, and investigators also found toothpaste on the carpet near his body.
Okay.
So, a man named Raimundo Esparza was suspected of the killing because he had been seen at that hotel with a bag of tools the night of the murder. And he was also a heroin addict. And why does that matter? Well, fun fact, Carrie, apparently heroin addicts can experience erectile dysfunction due to their drug use. And
What?
using a tube of toothpaste to simulate masturbation can help them achieve sexual gratification. I did not know that. I doubt it's ever going to come up on a trivia night, but I
Oh
always
my
like learning new things.
gosh.
Esparza was never charged with Kyle's murder and he died in 1983. The murders of William Kyle, Jack McDonald, and Rose and Roger have never been officially tied to each other. They've always just kind of been considered isolated crimes, although some people really like Esparza as the killer in all three of those cases. And I'm assuming possibly more just in that time frame.
Because of the
I'm assuming
toothpaste and his
the
and the
toothpaste and targeting people in hotels that
mm-hmm.
are, I don't know. I just, the fact that there's toothpaste in weird
Yeah.
spots
That
in
is
every
such a
case, they were,
unique detail.
yeah. And so, maybe this was like the Sensodyne killer who targeted people staying in hotels who were traveling from other states or areas. Cause I mean, they could have easily been like, wow, your license plate is from wherever. Like, I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
get you. Or
Mm-hmm.
maybe it was just a heroin addict trying to tickle his pickle after committing horrendous murders. It's hard to
Maybe.
say. Or maybe not so hard without a tube of toothpaste. You don't like my jokes, but I try. Detectives were almost certain that the motive in the murders was jealousy. But was it jealousy over Roger's affair with Rose or from affairs he had had with other women?
What's this now?
Because Roger was a serial fucking cheater. So Rose was not the first woman that Roger had had an affair with. And that, of course, opened up the door, to other people who might have been jealous or angry with
Mm-hmm.
Roger. Was one of his past girlfriends upset that he was with Rose, making her the primary target? Or was there an angry husband or boyfriend who had it out for Roger? Like,
Which could
there's
still
just
make
so
her the
many
primary target
fucking,
because it would hurt him, especially if they went after her first and made him watch.
right? True.
Yep.
Ay, ay, ay. Yeah, there's so many possibilities.
But we're
So,
we're gonna understand the detective solved this one, yes?
no, this case remains cold. And unfortunately, there isn't a lot of
Motherfucker.
hope that it will ever be solved. So, the sheriff at the time of the murders, multiple detectives who worked the case, and even some of the suspects have passed away. Detectives and officers who worked the case still offer their knowledge to current detectives on the case when needed. This case in particular, like I saw like sheriffs and detectives were like, this case fucking haunts me. Like, this is the case that
This is the one
will
that's keeping him
will
up at
never
night.
leave me. Yes, like it's like they need to solve it. So a lot of these detectives and stuff are still like involved in trying to
I
solve it
bet.
on like the outskirts. Like it really seems like it's haunted people who have tried to solve it. And unfortunately, the person responsible for killing Rose and Roger might also be gone at this point. No arrests have ever been made for the murders. Marcella eventually got married again, and she wrote a book called Axed, the
Oh my
1980
God.
Amana, Iowa axe murders. Guess what it's about?
What's it
Oh.
about?
A litter of puppies who go on an adventure.
Oh
And
my
it is
God, I'm so
adorable.
excited.
Yeah,
Does
it's so
it have
cute.
like furry paws scattered strategically throughout the book that you can pet?
Yes.
Oh my God, I love it.
Yeah, it's adorable. But I hope she's happy and that after all of that trauma that she's had a good life,
For sure.
and was able to move on.
Wait, did she really write that book?
Yes, it's called Axed, the 1980 Amana, Iowa axe murders. You can buy it on Amazon.
So here, I wonder if that was part of her therapy.
Maybe.
Might have been part of her therapy.
And it was probably important for her to tell her side because it would be really hard for me to be the clueless wife that didn't know that was going on. You know what I mean? Like, she
Yeah.
was probably painted as like this.
He was a philanderer. Of course. How did Marcella not know? She totally enabled it. And
Exactly.
she's like, "Wait, whoa, time out. Let me tell my story."
Yeah. And so I think it had to have been really therapeutic for her and important, for her to be able to kind of gain that control back of her
Yeah.
story instead of just speculation and rumors and
Oh man.
whatever.
And she didn't ask to be famous like this.
No, she did not. Poor thing. This case has me stumped. Do you have any theories
Oh my
or
god.
like do you have any
What?
thoughts on
No.
what
Fuck.
happened?
No, of course I don't. Like this like first of all, I'm still hung up on this written in bathroom crumbly soap on the back of a door that may or may not have been there for more than a year. Like I'm still hung up on that for various reasons, some which have nothing to do with this case at all. It just the whole thing is like fucked. It's bonkers is what it is.
Yeah,
And also, I'm a little unsure in my ability to assess what is truly a detail in this case and what's superfluous. Like, I don't
right.
know. I don't know.
Whenever I was researching this, it was like every case that was similar, I'm like, ooh, they're definitely related. Every suspect, I'm like, they fucking did it. It was just like everything kind of made sense, but then nothing enough to like lock it in and make me feel like that's definitely what fucking happened.
So, who do
It's
you
so
think?
confusing.
Do you think you like, are you leaning towards like a specific theory or suspect in this?
Hey,
Because
not
I'm
really.
not.
Like
Like,
I kind of feel like
it's like a clue game.
yeah, because it's like if somebody knew that they were going to Iowa on their little getaway, it's not like they said, "We're gonna be at this hotel," because they had nothing booked in advance. So
Exactly.
it's not like they said, "We're gonna be staying for 2 nights at this hotel." No one really knew where they were going. So
They
if it was
didn't even know
somebody
where
that
they were
was
going.
yeah, if it was somebody that was, like, targeting them specifically from Missouri or because they were having an affair, they would have had to have, like, tail them
Yeah, stalking
the
them.
whole way
Yep.
and follow them into the hotel without being detected and figure out what room they're in and just
Though I don't
it
think those
seems
parts were
complicated.
difficult in 1980.
That's true.
Safety and security didn't even like exist. Like wasn't even a
Yeah,
thing.
and you could just call the hotel and be like, "Hey, I'm trying to reach your guests, whatever, like,
Yeah,
what room
what
are
room
they
are they
in?"
in?
Boom.
Cuz I want to stop by later. But to your point, if I were investigating this case, I would immediately just by the fact that they did not have a hotel reservation and they didn't even know where they were going to stay. Therefore they couldn't have communicated that to anybody. Then they just ended up staying at the Holiday Inn. And it's like, okay, well, then I, as an investigator, would immediately rule out this was a targeted attack. And I would try to go to this was an opportunity attack.
Yeah. And maybe I'm wrong and I don't know myself very well, but, like, I feel like if you knew who was attacking you, your reaction to that person is gonna be different than if, like, a random stranger came in and was like, "Lay down on the fucking bed," or "I'm gonna" whatever. Like, if it's a coworker, if it's a jealous husband, if it's your father-in-law, you're gonna be like, "Hey, let's talk about this,"
Yeah.
like, just try and talk it down, but it seems like they followed orders, like, whoever was doing this, like, scared them and they had control because they were just lying face down. Like, it wasn't one of them was on the floor over here and tried to get away and whatever. It was like they laid down and they didn't move and they were attacked.
So if it was the heroin addict, that's plausible.
Right.
Maybe he was tweaked and he attacked their heads because that's the soul and he had them lay face down because he didn't want the soul looking at him through their eye portals. And yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to think like a
Yeah.
heroin addict. I've never done heroin, but I don't know. Like I
Yeah.
it's possible.
And I mean, if he's like gorked out of his mind, like it wouldn't be that odd for him to just sit there in a chair with his feet up on the nightstand, like fucking around and killing some time if he has nowhere else to be, or maybe doesn't have a place to stay, clean up in the bathroom, watch TV, whatever he was doing. Like if you're just kind of out of it, fucking around with soap.
Didn't you say that there was DNA found on a bloody towel?
Yeah, there's that, like, apparently DNA that they assume is the killer's, but it to this date has not been matched. So
Ah,
there still might be a hit on that mystery DNA, but I'm not super hopeful, but I sure hope that it gets solved. When you read about it, it fucking gets under your skin and it bothers you. The DNA has probably been submitted and processed, but I couldn't see anything about it. But if they haven't, they fucking should submit it to like Parabon,
agreed.
get a composite, just
Yes.
something, and get this fucking thing done
Well, if
because
it
it
hasn't been processed, at least push that shit through CODIS.
exactly. Yeah, and I couldn't see like what steps detectives have taken, but like things have advanced a hell of a lot since 1980, and if they've got that DNA, fucking run that shit.
Well, and if we
So,
can't get justice because maybe the perpetrator is dead now or what have you, at least we could get closure
yeah,
for
yeah.
the still alive victims of Roger and Rose, even though they were doing a shitty thing.
Yes, they didn't deserve to be
No, God,
bludgeoned
no.
to death with a
Fuck.
hatchet.
Boy, that punishment doesn't fit the crime there. That's for sure. If
No,
that's
but
the reason
also,
why, fuck.
can everybody stop cheating?
Yeah,
We've done
don't.
enough of these fucking cases.
That's true. That's true.
It might not end well, guys.
Yeah.
Just
Just
fucking stop
have a
it.
conversation and then go
Yes.
dip your wick.
Yes, exactly.
Men and women. We got wicks we like dipped. Fuck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I wasn't
Shoot.
being gender specific.
So,
On that note,
yeah, on that incredibly unsettling note.
yeah.
Thank you guys for listening. We love you.
Yeah.
Please continue to share Crime Will Tell. And we just appreciate your support
Yeah.
and for listening. So,
Yeah.
with that, goodbye, Carrie.
Goodbye, Jamie.
I'm 13.
Oh my God, your balls dropped again. It's been a while.
I like your butt crack.
Big fucking fan.
Mama, Roger said the word.
This doesn't look like what I always thought a mouse would look like.
Damn, girl.
I would like to sign up, please.
Cheers to you, Clink. Blah, 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 blah.
All right, so where were we?